Jay. Nork.org. We're also on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So, alhamdulillah, thank you for being with us again. Let me just give a little bit about the Muslim League of Voters, and then we'll have our brother come on and introduce himself, inshallah. Oh yeah, this year they're celebrating actually their 40th anniversary, and they are having a fundraising banquet this Sunday. It was postponed from last Sunday due to the state of emergency, but they will be back this Sunday, inshallah. We'll talk about that as well. The Muslim League of Voters is a nonprofit, community-based political organization established in 1985. The purpose of the MLV is to establish and promote political and economic dignity. We believe this can be accomplished through the concerted and sincere efforts of determined, striving individuals. The Muslim League of Voters realizing the plight of our people and the great need for community progress and development, focuses on four essential areas: political, economic, social, and educational. The organization believes that if these areas are properly cultivated, our community will become powerful and productive. Furthermore, our aim is to bring together and organize individuals who are serious about advancing our causes in the community, people who understand and share the view that power concedes nothing without a demand. As Muslims, we feel that we must be strong enough to stand up for truth and use our strength to change conditions in the society by becoming politically aware and aggressively involved in electing good people to lead the community. And lastly, the goals and objectives of the Muslim League of Voters include registering all eligible voters, communicating information and stimulating discussion on pertinent issues, developing and maintaining an effective mechanism for presenting the community's concerns to various institutions, agencies, and decision-making bodies, providing a support system for the individual and collective efforts of members as they make economic and political decisions that impact upon the community, that the impact is upon the community. So without any further ado, we're honored to have our dear brother, who's the chairperson of the Muslim League of Voters, Brother Jimmy Smalls. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you for having me. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Now, the Muslim League of Voters, as we know it, actually began in 1982 in Chicago. There was an organization called the Muslim League of Voters, and they came up out of nowhere at the time, and they helped elect Chicago's first Black mayor. And so Bilal Beasley, who is the person that started the Muslim League of Voters of New Jersey in 1985, thought it was such a good idea that he got us together, many of us, and we formed this organization. Now, what you just heard the Imam read was written by the late, great Carl Sharif. Carl Sharif was a political guru that helped a lot of people get elected to various offices, not just Muslims, many people. In fact, he helped me get elected when I was serving as city councilman in East Orange, New Jersey from 1984 to 2002. And as the Imam said, we worked diligently with many, many different people. Our objectives were stated, and we believe in something called unity without uniformity. Now, we work with Muslims, yes, and many people come from many different diverse strands of our deed. But we do have one goal, and that is to help our brothers and sisters to achieve what they are here to do, and that is unity. unity, helping to strive what we're doing in the community. What does the religious perspective say about this? Because I've heard over the years, oh, it's haram to be a Muslim. It's haram to vote, and many other things that are basically incorrect. As the Quran says in Surah 3, Ayat 104, let there arise out of you a band of people enjoining all that is good and forbidding all that is wrong. They are the ones to attain felicity. That band is people working together. And the Muslim League of Voters believes in working with people that are about doing something good. They could be Muslims, they could be Christians, they could be Jews, they could be Buddhists, and anything, any other religious background. But the goal must all be the same, and that is to benefit humanity and help humanity to achieve various goals. There are several Muslim organizations that we work with, but I'm just going to give you a few. These aren't the only ones. You have the Council of American Islamic Relations, New Jersey branch, New Jersey Voices for Progress, American Muslims for Progress, Engage, Metro New York, the Civic Muslims Coalitions of New Jersey, of course us, IGNA, and so many more on the list. We also work with some organizations that you consider interfaith. We work with the Newark Interfaith Alliance, and that consists of Muslims, Jews, and Christians. And we go to their affairs and they come to ours. We also work with something called Faith Allies. Now, that particular organization has one particular goal, and that is to ensure that we get reparations here in this state. Because New Jersey ended slavery in 1804, but grandfathered it where it didn't totally end until the last slave passed in 1861. So out of those original colonies and other states, New Jersey was the last. And once that ended, we went through Jim Crow, segregation, and many other things. In fact, New Jersey is the sixth most segregated school systems in the country. And you can actually say that for many communities as well. If you name certain towns, you can say what the major ethnicity that's in that particular town. That's not good. We need to be all over the place. So we want to just continue to work with other people. Now, here's something that at least I personally love to do: voter registration. Now, it just ended for this upcoming election on November 4th. It ended on October 14th. But voter registration should continue to go on and on. It never stops. I am also a what is called a super poll worker on election day, which is November 4th, and I make sure all the polls have voter registration forms. So if someone comes in and is not registered, they can register, but they can't vote. Newark, New Jersey is unique here in New Jersey, and for one thing, because you can register 16-year-olds, because in the school board election, which is in April each year, the 16-year-olds can vote. I think that's a great idea, because why not have the students select the kind of people that are going to make decisions for them? And other people, if they're 17 years old and they're going to be 18 later that year when we have elections, they can register to vote as well. 18 and above, it's fine. But there is a system to voter registration. You can do it on the paper, as I just mentioned, but when you deal with younger people, you're dealing with something where they don't want to sit there and write things out. You use a QR code, and you get a ton of people. Recently, um, we went to a couple local high schools, and we were able to register close to 200 kids just because we had the QR code there. And our chairperson and also my brother, he was able to really rally the kids because he emphasized that they should be voting. And I'm going to emphasize it to everyone. Every election is important because New Jersey and Virginia have gubernatorial races this year, but you have local races every place else in the country. Don't pass up voting. Vote for people. I don't care if dog catcher, but his actual name is animal control officer. A person like that could be corrupt if you don't put the right person in there. Let's say some animal that's tearing up your neighborhood. That it could usually would be a dog. So if you want, he could just, if you have the wrong person, somebody could pay that person off to leave it alone. You don't want that kind of person. You don't want the stories we often hear where some dog attacked a human being because that's the way they've been trained. We have other wild animals that are around. That's part of that person's job as well. And here's the key to making sure you elect the right person. If you don't, I mentioned the animal control officer, but there's also code enforcement, school boards, planning boards, zoning boards, shade tree commission, and the list goes on and on. It depends upon the community you live in. That executive, or it might be the mayor, it might be a county executive if you have such an office, it could be the governor, it could be the president of the United States. He or she has the right to appoint people. And if the wrong person, people get appointed, then, oh boy, I'll give you an example. Planning boards, we're sitting in a master right now. Now, in order for this master, this is a newer master I might add, in order for this master to have been built, it had to go through a planning board. And once it passed the planning board, then it had to go through the zoning board to decide what was gonna be in that building. And people say, I ain't gonna vote. Voting ain't gonna do no good. I'm gonna leave it in the hands of God. Well, let me put it this way. You want to, I always quote Fannie Lou Hamer, us old heads. Fannie Lou Hamer, I remember this while I was young, but she came to the Democratic National Convention, which was held here in New Jersey, in Atlantic City in 1964. She fought hard to get proper representation from Mississippi. She once said that you can pray until you faint, but God's not going to help you until you do something. And that's the truth, because by my understanding of Al-Islam, we're not going to get any help until we do something. I mean, people can say we're going to leave it in the hands of God. Yes, that is true, but you need to do something. And getting back to these appointed officials, now those people, as I said, they make decisions about the air you breathe. I remember as a kid, we had days here in New Jersey where the air was so polluted, they told you don't leave your house. So someone had to pass a decision to clean the air up. The sidewalks you walk on, how you do your farms, how the speeds that you drive. I'll give you another example. Here in Newark, New Jersey, they're making a film in downtown. Now, there's a board that makes that decision. So you need to have those people in the right places that are going to make the decisions. You also have a legislative group. It could be your city council, it could be your board of commissioners, it could be your state assembly and state senate, or it could be the House of Representatives and the United States Senate. They also pass the laws that the executive sends to them. And it doesn't matter which level, that's exactly how it works. Now, if those people, again, you have to try to elect the people. Now, people will say, this is an off-year election. Never, it's never an off-year election. As I mentioned earlier, and I'll remind everyone again, New Jersey and Virginia have gubernatorial races this year, and they're very hotly contested. Here in New Jersey, there are 4 people that are running. There's the Democrat, the Republican, the Libertarian, social workers, and the Green Party has a write-in campaign because their candidate didn't have enough signatures. I don't care what the office you run for, you have to get the proper amount of signatures in order to be on the ballot. Because if you don't, you'll be like the Green Party was here in New Jersey. You'll get thrown off. Now, the Muslim League of Voters, as I said, we work with everybody. In doing so, we go all over the state of New Jersey and beyond. We recently went to Hunterdon County, which is a very rural area. And I was pleasantly surprised that they have a lot of good politicians out there. And so, I mean, that's my opinion. So if you want to get some good people out there, you need to elect the people from Hunterdon County that are running. They also have a person that I know of that is, I'll just put it this way. He's very ultra conservative. He doesn't believe that slavery was wrong. I know because I helped interview him with another group a few months ago. He's one of those people that needs to be taken out. You don't need anybody like that because, as we've seen at the federal level, if you don't have the right people in office, as I keep mentioning, you see what might be happening to the country. Some people don't like what's happening, but you got to get the right people in the right places. Now, you have in this state, and perhaps others as well, three ways to vote. You can vote by mail, which in New Jersey started on September 20th. So for instance, I voted already. I don't have to worry about what's gonna happen down the line. I got my ballot on, I think, like September 22nd, and my wife and I filled it out, and we put it in the drop box that's specifically designed for vote by mail. You can vote by mail all the way up until about 8 o'clock on election day, which is November 4th. Starting in a few days, and this may be a different date in other places, you can vote early. And that starts on October 25th and goes to November 2nd. You can go to you have to go by county though. And I suspect that may work in other places outside of New Jersey. You can't live, I mentioned Huntington County. You can't live in Huntington County and then come down to Essex County and vote. It's not gonna count. They're gonna throw it out. And make sure when you fill out the ballots, you take your time and do it. Of course, your candidates are there because if you don't, they're gonna pull your ballot. And they're not gonna have to do something what's called cure the ballot. And that means they're gonna have to track you down and you're gonna have to do the ballot all over again. And the final day for voting, is November 4th. And that's not just New Jersey, that's the whole country. Some people are complaining that they want to get the results right away. Well, personally, I believe the way we do it here in New Jersey is you fill out a paper ballot, put it in a machine, and that way it's tabulated almost right away. And to ensure there's no hank that went on with those ballots, they are then looked at by the Board of Elections. And there's been stories about Board of Elections in the past where if they wanted somebody in office, they would cheat, but we don't have that here. And I don't think we have it anywhere in the country. Um, we have people that work hard to do their job. And it's always a Republican or a Democrat. And they don't like the idea of saying that they cheat. Their job is to make sure that everyone is got the right amount of votes and are elected. So by the end of the month of November, you will know who won the election. Usually I've noticed since we've been using that system, it takes about 4 or 5 days. I remember Biden in 2020, by Saturday morning, we knew he was gonna be the president. It's not like it used to be, and I'll tell you why. I was a kid, but I've been following elections since 1960, when Kennedy and Nixon ran. So what they did in 1964 was a big mistake. Um, they knew that Lyndon Johnson had won the election by 8:30. Now, if you live in other parts of the country, the polls are still open. And so ever since then, they make sure they try to get all 50 states to have voted, because some states, if you live in the Eastern time zone as we do, like Alaska and Hawaii, it may not be until 12 or 1 o'clock when they start getting results in. In other places, it's a lot sooner. So that's why they stopped that. I remember it was a George Bush, the dad, because they could have done it then. His opponent had like 70 electoral votes, and he had like 268. Now they couldn't call the election because it takes 270 in order to win. I have to say this as well. Don't fall prey to 2024 elections. I ain't voting because I don't like how somebody is handling things overseas. Both of the parties are the same. Um, and we have to wait. If you do that, you're gonna get some results that I don't think you're gonna care for. I hear that kind of talk again, because in doing voter registration and due diligently, Muslim League of Voters, we hear this. I'm not voting, I don't see why. And then you heard me read an ayat earlier on that it was a Muslim brother that said, I don't even have any reason to vote. I said, and we were in a park. I said, you see those trees over there? Someone makes a decision as to exactly where that tree goes. It's not just planted there. At this park, a park commission made the decision. So I don't know whether he's gonna vote or not, or has voted already, but I hope that he does. Voting is extremely important. It should be taught in schools. I don't mean just voting, it should be civics. Civics needs to be taught, but if it's not taught in your school, you need to try to get it done at masjids. I know in our community, we have Sister Claire Muhammad schools. And not just Muslim schools, churches, synagogues, etc. You need to teach children and teenagers and young adults the importance of voting, because if we don't vote, I gave you a list of things that are not gonna happen. Funding is what happens. We don't talk about this very much. The larger your plurality in your particular district, the more funds you're gonna get. And what I mean by that, you may be in a district, and this is net national, where there may be 700 people in that district. I look it up because it's public information. Out of those 700 registered voters, only 100 vote. That's ridiculous. Especially as African Americans, there's a saying that 70% of us don't vote. That's got to change. People voted in droves in the 2008 election for Barack Obama. A lot of people voted for Joe Biden in 2020 and many other elections. That election I mentioned about Lyndon Johnson in '64, people voted in droves in those as well. And they did in 2024, but people voted in droves for that, but there were a whole lot of people that did not vote. So you also can help yourselves with voter registration. You get a big turnout for kids to register to vote. Go to the schools, go to PTA meetings, set up something at your masjid, at your church, at your synagogue, or any other place where there's a large group of people. If you know there's gonna be a big thing going on, especially in the summer, then someone should be out there registering people to vote. And that is so necessary because, and I mentioned all the things that don't happen. If a number of people register, the number of people register to break that 70%, you're gonna get the things you want. Because what's gonna happen in the follow-up election, whatever it might be, a year later, 2 years, 3, 4 years, whatever the case might be, then they're gonna come knocking on your door. I know here in New Jersey, we have Muslims that are supporting the Democratic gubernatorial candidate, and some Muslims are supporting the Republican candidate. But that's their decision. But regardless of who they support, we have to listen to what these candidates say and see if they're going to fulfill what their people are asking for. We have the same thing in Virginia. You have two women. One is a Republican, and she was the lieutenant governor, but you can only serve one 3-year term in Virginia. And there's another woman, she's kind of new, but she's new to running for the governor, that is, but she's well known in Virginia politics. So vote, vote, vote.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you. We really just scratched the surface. We did have a few questions, but we're going to take a break. And if he still has time, we'll come back with a part two. We may have to do a series because, again, this is one of the areas of interest that we're under, what would you call it? Under attentive.
Under attention.
Attentive. And so we want to try to give more attention to this important aspect of our community life if we want a true community life. So take a break. We'll be back with you. Inshallah. Thank you for joining this first episode Inshallah, we'll be back again. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, we have to talk.
We can do it.
No, this one.
Now, in concluding this, when the slave traders and the black traders of Africa, traitors, different, traitors, when the slave traders and the traitors of Africa called themselves Muslims, were fighting each other and carrying on and weakening their people over there so that the white traders come in there and get us, take us on slave ships and bring us here. Now, all right? Yeah. So now, when all that happened, what you think was happening to our human soul? Let me tell you, God has given me an eye to see into the very abstract form of the human being by my study of the Quran. Yes. Now, I'm going to tell you what was happening. I know, as if I was there. The soul of those victims had given up on this world. They knew they were going to their death. They knew they were going to circumstances that were going to finish them off. They would never have their lives again. They knew that. But in their soul, they were saying, our children will one day be free again, and they will serve God. We have failed, but our children will one day serve God. And now their prayer that they prayed in the deep recesses of their soul has come true. And not only are the descendants of the black people of Africa from Islam coming to Islam, taking up the divine cause, but those who never were Muslims, their children from Christianity, their children from Judaism, their children from paganism are embracing Islam in America. And we are going to build New Africa. New Africa, right here in the United States. Allahu Akbar. And the soul of those suffering victims, they're rejoicing because of us here today.